Hello.
Hi.
And welcome back
to
to hashtag
Us
Us2. I think this is episode 6. This is Jay Elliott.
Hi.
And I must be Rifitanera. And we just ate a lot of pasta.
Yes, I'm like, whew, all the blood has gone to my stomach.
Yeah.
But we're here, we're having a great time.
We're having a wonderful time.
And we had some stuff we wanted to talk about.
We did. Well, okay, so the last episode, we didn't quite wrap up what we were talking about.
We didn't. I forgot.
I know, I forgot to. I was like, damn
was it the trans stuff?
It was trans stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, I forgot about it.
Damn.
There'll always be trans stuff.
We can look at it and come back to it the next episode. Well, I was listening to other podcasts, and I've been listening to a bunch of motivational stuff. And I've been really working on myself and loving myself, and then I was like listening to this podcast, and then they were talking about how it's like, okay, whenever you work out a lot, it was the Joe Rogan podcast, but they were like, you know, working out has really helped with my depression and anxiety. And then I remembered, I don't know where I learned about it, but I sent it to Jay. There's like this phenomenon called supernormal stimuli. And essentially, it's saying that we humans have not evolved to where technology is evolving and like continues to. So because of that, that's why we're depressed and anxious, and we have a lot of mental disorders or handicaps or whatever, because and like mental health is declining. But I think part of it is that where it's like we're like supposed to hunt or gather or whatever or be busy during the day, and instead we have all this extra stimuli, like we're on our phones, or even the food we have is overdeveloped. Like fast food isn't good for you. Sweets. I just ate so many. But yeah, so it was just kind of talking about that. They give a good example too about how I think this doesn't just affect humans, but there was some study. I don't know what kind of bird it was, but this mother bird had her egg. And then they put like a shinier, highly colorful egg out. It wasn't a real egg, but she like picked that one instead of her baby because she was, you know, just more like, oh, wow. Like, but I think that's what happens with people too. It's like the phone. We're like, oh, wow. And it's like, that's not your priority. It shouldn't be your priority like that. That's why you're sad, because you're like glued to your phone.
And then you're not actually getting anything really out of it.
Nothing.
It's just like in the moment it's captivating, and then afterward you feel weird.
I mean, yeah.
It's kind of, I've always thought that. Like, it's kind of when people would say things like, oh, we're so evolved now, like we have all this technology. I always thought it wasn't fair to like cavemen or whatever. Like, I'm sure that they were smart too. We're not that different from them, and they were in such a chaotic world. They don't know what plant around them is edible. They're dealing with so much unknown that like they don't even know what the wheel is. Like, there's so much they had to figure out for us to get here. I don't think of them as like less evolved or dumber. I think that we're like pretty much the same since we have been for a while. So when it's just like that Geico commercial where the caveman needs car insurance.
That's us.
That's us.
Well, I remember talking to my little brother because I feel like there's a lot of depression and anxiety in my family. And I was like, do you feel like, and I was like, I feel this like in my gut, like if there was an apocalypse, I'm like, we would survive because we're so like neurotic. And I think all of us are so good at like taking action when something's going on. And he was like, dude, I've thought that so many times before. But I was like, I don't know if we're like meant to be in this. I mean, I like being in this time period. I wouldn't change it, maybe just because I like my life and the way the trajectory of it seems good. I'm like, I hope so. But I have like really felt that before. Gia's acting up.
I agree. I was thinking about this too. Like, I would be dead in any other time period. Like,
yeah,
we would be killed for like being ourselves or being as vocal as we are or as like liberated as we are, because even if we were like hunter gatherers, we wouldn't be able to like be who we are without the freedoms that we have today. So that's obviously good, but we're also just animals.
we
And
are.
we live in a society and we have technology and stuff, but we're still like biologically just animals. We need exercise, we need stimulation, we need to be outside. When I was depressed, which I'm not anymore, I'm cured. But I used to be so depressed. I think I still have some symptoms of it, but I'm like improved so much. I used to like think, oh my God, like I don't know how to get out of bed. I don't know how to make my day any better. I just like don't want to exist right now. And then I would just go outside and look at the sky and feel better.
Just getting outside, you feel better. I always feel better going out. I mean, I love my apartment, and there are times where I'm like, after a long day of comedy or working out, I mean, that's when I'm most happy being home. I'm like, oh, I can relax or like, but if I'm really depressed, I'm like, I need to go outside. I need to talk to somebody else. I need to interact. Like, we're people. I think too, like, oh, she's going for your foot. It helps having the bunny. It helps having something to care for. Like, it was funny. My mom was telling me that. So my brother rescued a dog, and my brother's like this huge hypochondriac, and he'll always call my mom and be like, I think I have a tumor or whatever. And you're like, dude, you're the most healthy one. Like, you're fine. I'm like knocking on wood a lot today. And she was like, oh, ever since he got the dog, like all of those neuroses are gone. But I'm like, he has to take the dog for walk. Like, I feel like pets are good for people because it's like, oh, yeah. I kind of have to get my shit together.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's that latent animal side that likes being in an ecosystem where being around other animals just makes us feel right. But just having them around is so good.
She just is also unconditionally loving. And there's this famous YouTuber, Lennon the Bunny, but that she was saying too, like, she had been super depressed, and then her bunny was always sweet. She was like, I've been like heartbroken by guys. I've had family stuff, and like, then my rabbit's always there. And I was like, oh my God, like that's like Gia. But Gia's only gotten like sweeter. And people don't get it. They're like, can she cuddle? I'm like, yes, she cuddles. She comes to me. She's very sweet. But I think having that unconditional love is so important. And my mom gave me a book, The River House. I don't know the title of it. It's about this girl that her parents died, and she's like taken into this plantation, and they take care of her. But it's from her point of view, so she's like constantly craving love. Mm-hmm. She's always like looking to make people happy, and she wants love because her parents are dead. Mm-hmm. And so then she gets it, and it's so like warming the way she describes it. And I'm like, oh, everybody at the end of the day just wants love. Like, yeah, you get older and things get tainted and weird, and like the world breaks you down. But I feel like everyone, when they're born, it's like they're just supposed to be loved. And like, Gia's in a healthy environment, so she can just love me, but she's not scared. She's getting in trouble all the time because she's never scared. But yeah,
like with kids, that struck me when I was a preschool teacher, that kids are so simple. You love them and they know you do, mm-hmm. and they just love you right back. They don't care, they don't think, they just do. They just love you right back. It's not like there's no damage to come between them and you. They just love you right back.
I think that's why with pets, they don't really get damaged by other people. They're not like out in society doing. They don't get like
jaded.
Yeah, they're not like ate too brute. Like they're not like stabbed in the back by anyone, so they don't know. She doesn't know. And I also I learn a lot from her as she eats my shoes. She's being so bad. Every time we do this podcast, I think she knows we're busy. And then she's going after she's usually not like this. She doesn't like, I know other rescue bunnies or rescue pets. I know some of them get abused and then they don't really recover, but like she was not in a good living situation, but then she's still very loving. They're like very forgiving. She's not thinking about what happened to her in the past. Not to my knowledge, like the way she acts, you know, like I feel like she's just happy to see me or you. Like right now she's just bouncing around like, oh.
I think that that's part of being an animal too, where you kind of, maybe due to their like limited perspective, they don't have the wherewithal to get into the kind of mental spiraling that people do.
That we do.
Where we'll just like trap ourselves in a frame of mind.
Right.
That's like not good for us. They can't, like their instinct is to survive, and that's not a good survival tactic.
No, it's like the opposite. It'll just like plunge you into depression. Please don't chew my backpack.
Because if you get depressed as an animal and you stop moving and you stop...
That's it. I mean, if she did that, she'd get eaten.
You get eaten, yeah. So, and I'm sure that they do. Like, I used to wonder, like, are there any crazy spiders? Like, I'm sure they have little brains. Like, are some of them, like, schizophrenic spiders? How do you even know? Maybe those are the ones that bite people and give them a bad name. But I'm like... Animals can be crazy and stuff, but usually they just die.
That's what I mean. I feel like crazy people here...
We don't kill them, and that's the problem.
This podcast would get canceled.
Eugenics.
No, but they're not dying.
People?
No.
No, and
other people keep them alive.
And they're procreating too. That's another thing. It's like...
Bad.
It's the
some people shouldn't.
The more educated you are, the less kids you have. So, like, the dumber you are, you have all these, like, baby mamas and stuff. And it's like, is this really advancing our species? I don't think so.
No, it's not at all. Gia has babies.
Gia's a mama. She has a baby daddy.
Damn. I think I know who the baby daddy is, too.
Really?
I think it was the one with the tattoo.
Is he cute? Oh, wow.
He is cute.
He is cute.
Yeah. He's adorable.
He's got a tattoo.
Yeah, he's a bad boy. Now Gia's off, man. She's been traumatized.
I know. She's living a good life.
I'm not off, man. I'm just... My standards are very...
lofty. I used to have no standards because I was like, I don't matter. But now...
You do matter.
Now I'm just bored. I've done the hookups. I've done the date, drink, hookup, like on a one night stand and then never hear from them again. I've done it. So I want to try new stuff. I want to try respecting someone.
Respecting.
Or them respecting me. So I was telling Espy that I have this date tomorrow. And I'm probably slowing down with dates, but this one I was already gonna do. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, no drinking, no fucking. Just like...
That's good.
Ideally an activity. And he was like, all right, well, I'm pretty much on the same page there.
That's great.
We're gonna get food. Which
That'll
is not... Food is not unique, but it's not drinking or fucking.
Food is good.
Yeah, I hope he pays for it.
He better pay for it or he's...
out.
I want a man to pay for my shit and bring me to nice places. And I was like, listen, you only live once. My standards are high.
Yeah, and I'm just I like trying new things. I've never been in love. I've never been in a relationship. I've always kind of like trapped myself in this kind of like bare minimum with men. And now I want to see if I can try something else.
Jay and I and Carla were making vision boards, and then Jay put that she wanted to be heartbroken on her, so she's gonna find a man, and then he's gonna ruin her, and then you're gonna know
and then I'm gonna
how
kill
I
myself.
felt.
Finally happy.
You're like, oh, this is what this is. It's horrible.
Well, I was telling one of our other friends, Jake Timothy, because whenever I tell people I want to be heartbroken, they're like, you're dumb. But I hear these songs on the radio about heartbreak, and I've been in love and it didn't work out. That's heartbreak. But I've never had it reciprocated, because that's a different kind of like personal vulnerability and thing than unrequited love. So to be actually like in a relationship with somebody who breaks your heart is like a different thing.
It's horrible. I hate it. I mean, I told my therapist, I was like, I'm done with this shit. I was like, I don't know if this is like not reasonable, but I was like, I'm not doing it again. And he was like laughing at me. He was like, you don't have to do it again. You're done. And I was like, I'm done. But I hate it. I mean, you learn so much so fast from them. Mm-hmm. And it's funny though, because a few weeks ago I was like, I'm just never gonna be happy. But now I'm like seeing my progress and I feel strong. But it's pretty fucking awful. I mean, I'll be there when it happens, but it's gonna be messy.
I know it will be messy.
Dude,
I just want to know what people are talking about, what they're singing about. I want to feel what they feel and just see with my own eyes what it's like. But I am also just like a curious person, and I understand like not everything in life is going to be good. So not everything on my bucket list is good, you know? I want to live a full life.
I told Jay I was recently in Austin. I just got back a couple days ago. And I was with our friend. And I'm in her car and I'm like crying. Because Austin's a very emotional place for me. I started comedy there and a lot happened there. And, but I was like driving through the city and I was like, oh, I know this city so well. Like, I think that sometimes I forget, but like when we're driving, I'm like, I know exactly where I am. I remember like, because I was there for 5 years. I know downtown, I know the east side, I know Dirty Six, I know everything. And I was like, realized, I mean, I kind of had this weird breakdown in Carla's car, and I was like, I'm like just so emotional. And like, I was like, I've been through so much. But I was thinking like, oh, I really like lived it. Yeah. Like I really like, I was in love there a lot. I went through a lot of trauma there. I like stood up for myself. I used to be very timid. There was like a ton of growth there. It was very intense. We had a rabbit for 10 years. He flew down. He died there. Like, I was like, there's just a lot that happened. I was teaching there. I ended my teaching career. I was like, no, I'm leaving. So it was just like anytime I go back, I always feel emotional. And then every trip I go back, I feel stronger. I think for a while I was like avoiding going back because it's so like emotionally loaded. But then I felt like proud of myself the next day after I kind of had that breakdown. I was like, oh, you don't like fuck around with your feelings. Like if I love someone, then I'm like all in.
Yeah, you do it.
Yeah.
I want my life, I tell SB this a lot. I'm like, I want my life to be a good story. And a good story has high highs and low lows. There's like a lot of conflict. There's a lot of like growth. It's just like a full range of human experience.
Like a colorful cast of characters.
Yeah.
And love it too because I miss people that are there. Like I have teacher friends there. I have my buddy Brian, and it's cool to. I think I realized this was the like I was in the airport leaving, and I'm just like crying again because I'm emotional as hell. And then I was texting Brian, and I was like, oh, I kind of realized that like Austin is another home to me.
Yeah.
Because I miss people. My family's down there now. I started comedy there, and I was like, I don't want anyone to take that away from me. Like, this is another home. Like, yeah, New York's like, I'm a diehard New Yorker. Like, people are like, you're very New York. But Texas is another home. And I used to, like, not claim it or
like
associate with
it.
it. Yeah.
I used to run away. Like, whenever I would go home, I would feel like I had to escape because I'd go home, shit would go down, and I'd be like, this is why I left in the first place. Let me get out of here. And then I'd get out and come back maybe the next year. But this time when I went for Christmas and New Year's, I had a good time. I'm learning how to be like open with my family and set boundaries and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left, I actually like missed being with my family. And I was like, this is good. I think I should, you know?
So did I. I felt the same way. Because I was telling Jay that I think sometimes when we're with our families, we like regress a little bit. And I used to be a really angry kid at home, and I would argue with my family a lot. And then, this is like the first time in my life. It's very exciting. I think because of everything that's been happening, I've been really working on myself. My anger has always been the most difficult thing for me to like conquer. I don't know what the right word is, but I feel like I would get angry. It is like stuff lighting on fire, like just all of a sudden just out of control. So I get angry, flare up. And then the past like maybe just a week, I was in Austin. I felt myself flare up at my family. And then for the first time, there was just a little bit of space in my thoughts, which I've never had before, where it was like, well, you've had a nice trip. Like, my mother was kind of pissing me off because she like woke me up very early for this flight. And then they were like, how are you going to get there? I was like, are you guys driving me? Like, we all have licenses. And they're like, you can't drive. It was like just a dumb thing. And I got so angry. And then I was like, first of all, this isn't a huge deal. Like, I can take an Uber. It's fine. And then I was like, we had a good trip. Why, like, ruin it? And then I just, like, sincerely let it go. And I normally don't let shit go. Not that I don't want to. I hate being angry. But there was something in me for so long, and I'm sure it's still there. I've only not gotten angry twice in my life. It was the past week. But I've never, like, I'm just shocked that I, like, stopped myself. I'm, like, truly shocked. I don't know if it's just been the years of therapy, finally, something cracking, or, like, I don't know. I mean, the past couple of weeks, I've been, like, really focused on myself and, like, loving myself. So I'm like, maybe that has something to do with it, too. I don't know. Something changed, though. And I'm, like... I've also been really thinking about, maybe because I talked to you about it so much, like the idea of energy. I was like, if I had gotten mad at them and lashed out, I would have been so drained. And then I would have felt bad. And then it would have been like a fire, just like burning everything. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt people. And then it was funny because I calmed down. I let it go. I was like hanging out with my mom. It was nice. And then my dad was like, oh, my business call got canceled. I'll drive you to the airport. Like, everything worked out.
Yeah.
And I think I swear the universe was like rewarding me for not losing my mind.
And just like showing there's another way. A better way, even.
Well, what's the point? Like, I am really good in bad situations at staying calm. It's like I should be a little bit better at calm situations. Like, I don't need to flip out.
Yeah. I noticed that I was living in like survival mode for so long that I would react so severely to everything just to like get by. And then I'm learning now like life for me isn't as chaotic as it used to be. I've like taken a lot of time and I've thought a lot about like doing personal growth and everything. Like I'm stable enough that I can actually focus on other things than just survival. I can focus on just like make improving my life quality. And a lot of people I think don't have to be in survival mode as much and they just like already know basic stuff like that. Like, oh, you can just kind of smooth over conflict or like it's not that deep, like you can step back or whatever, but like some people have to just like learn it as an adult.
Well, I feel like you and I were in survival mode so much when we were younger. So that's why. And then I do have this real sense of mortality. Being like the way I drank, I would have died. There's just like no. I would have died from alcohol or maybe sooner from an accident or something. Because that was just how it was. I mean, I was getting like beat up, falling downstairs. Like crazy shit was happening because I was blackout drunk most days. So when it like hit me, like I remember too my mother like crying. She was like, "You're gonna end up dead in a ditch somewhere," and I was like, "I'm not gonna tell her I've woken up on the sidewalk." Like, but she was right, and I was like, "It's not funny at all." But I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like it hit me finally, and it had slowly been hitting me. But then it was like when my parents found out how bad it was like, it felt like the curtain, like, you know, like the Wizard of Oz, they like find out who he is, like that. I felt like that. I felt very exposed because when you're drinking, you're like lying a lot, and if you have a drug problem, you're just trying to hide it, and then like everything slowly starts to unravel, and you have like this web of lies. It's like not adding up, which is why our relationship was so bad too, because I was always lying and trying to hide things, and it all like came crashing down. And so I think about that probably like once a day where I have this urgency and then I don't get why people aren't like honest all the time. Like
A lot of people who are have more like privileged lives too. They aren't honest because they are focusing on like manipulating people or the environment to get what they want, and they don't, I guess there's a certain level of pettiness about it where they're like, it doesn't matter, you know?
it does.
It does matter.
Because time goes by so fast, and I tell Jay I was drinking so much, there's like a good 3 to 4 years just missing. I just don't know. Like, it's such a blur. I don't remember at all. I remember high school and middle school and then college. I'm like, I don't really know. And then I hear stories from my friends, which are bad, of like me drinking.
I had a similar thing where because I think I was so stressed out, I got sick and it was like a stomach thing and I couldn't eat and I would just be like some days in bed and I just couldn't really like go out and be normal. I couldn't eat with people. It was very like alienating and it was painful. And there's just like similar thing where like years of my life I'm like I really missed out where people were like out, you know, at parties or like doing extracurriculars. They had so much energy and I was just like laying in bed because I couldn't do anything. And I'm like, I feel like I have to like make up for all my lost time of being sick. I'm like, normal people have gone through so much more than I have. So I really want to like live while I can to see what they.
But I think we've really lived. I don't know. I don't regret anything. I also had like a near death experience before that because I was very anorexic in high school. It started in middle school and it got really bad. I remembered my heart like hurting. and I wasn't eating, and I just kept losing weight, and it got down to like 80. It was like gross.
Oh my God.
It was bad. And then it hit me one night. I was like, if I don't take care of this, like, I'm gonna die. Yeah. And my parents at the time had no idea what to do or how to talk to me. And at that point, they were very conservative and were like, just eat. They would like fight with me, which made it worse.
Yeah.
And then I had to take it on myself to try to, but then that was when the drinking started. It kind of switched from the eating disorder. And then it was very complicated because when you starve yourself like that and you start eating, your body like binges. So then it went from anorexia right to bulimia. Because I would binge and then I would feel guilty and throw up, and then I would drink to try to like deal with the shame. So it was very shameful. I had like some very dark years from like high school to college. So I don't know. I guess I have this like deep sense of urgency because I feel like I missed out on so many years. And so many of my years were like just trying to survive. Like I felt like I was going to die in high school, and then I felt like I was going to die in college, and then after, and then I was like, what am I doing? Like I have this life. I don't want to die.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy how similar we are too, because growing up, it was, I'm feminine, like I'm trans. As a child, my parents reject that, and I just want to live until I'm 18. I need to get through this childhood and survive. So then I would like repress everything and push everything down and try to just like live as like normal a life to them, so they would let me grow up. And then it got so unhealthy for me that I got sick, and then I was in so much pain. And similar to you, like I would starve because I was in pain, and then I wouldn't eat, and then I would finally have to eat because I was starving, and then I would suffer because I ate because my stomach hurt, and then I would starve myself again.
But that does, like, mental illness or like depression like that does manifest in those physically. Behaviors. Yeah. Like me starving myself. I couldn't do it now. There are times where I've like been depressed. I don't know too, like maybe just the years of work, I like can't do it. I feel like sometimes in my brain, because I'm like an addict, if you really starve yourself, you get these highs, these like euphorias too. Yeah. So I also liked it. I started to enjoy it, and then your senses all open up, like everything looks better, you smell better.
Because it's like your body's like kind of dying, and it has all these like crazy hormones that it releases so you can like survive
and find food or whatever.
Like, woo, it's like an adrenaline high.
It was, but it made my mood swings were horrible. I was like a drug addict. I was like, and then I feel like my body like now, I'm not interested in it, but there have been times where I've been depressed in the past few years where I'm like, oh, I could starve myself and I would feel good. And it's like, I don't know. There's like this weird defense where it's like, no, it will not let me.
I'm also like not 16 anymore. And I think like back then I could afford it, but now I would just like actually die.
Well, that's what I mean. We're older too. Like our bodies. That's why I'm like, I wonder if my body now is like.
My body's like, bitch, do better. Because also I went to college and I was at UCLA, and UCLA is a lot of like rich people who are just like, woohoo, you know. And I was in line. It's so fancy. There's like 5 dining halls with different themes. There's like an Asian one, a Mexican food, a junk food one. Then the one I always went to, which is like the natural, like fruits and vegetables, vegan option one.
Right.
And all like the actors and music theater people go there so they can like be in tip-top shape. And I was in line there, and it's all these like beautiful people who are just so selfish, and they were talking about like what they wanted and how their mom is like supporting them. And I was like, how dare you follow your dreams? Who even has the audacity to like want good things. And then I thought, like, what am I saying? Like, I can do that. I'm just jealous. Because I've always been focused on like getting through the day. Like, you can have a nice life too. These people are just, privileged.
And you should have a nice life.
Yeah, people who are privileged don't understand how like lucky they are that they can be self-indulgent. But it is a skill if you've been growing up so fight or flight to learn how to like live with some level of hedonism. Like, oh, what actually makes me happy? What do I like? That's something that some people don't ever ask themselves.
I know, and they can't. Well, it's not a good thing. I remember like really resenting my parents when I was trying to leave Texas to come here, and they really didn't want me to. But I kind of feel like when I have days where it's hard to write or something, I'm like, dude, you like fought for your dreams. Like, your family did not make it easy. Like, we're doing this, like where it's like I'm just being dumb or lazy, or I'm not dumb. I'm being nice to myself. I'm smart. Cool. But I was just thinking, like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool that we had to overcome so much, though, too. Like you said, it's like a good story where, you really had to fight to, like, no, this is who I am. And that's, like, the same, different, but similar for me, where I was like, no, I'm a comic. I'm going to New York.
And I always want to know what other people go through. Like, right? Like, I want to get heartbroken because I'm like, other people do it. I want to do it. Like, my bucket list is crazy. It's like get hit by a car, get heartbroken, go to hell. Like, it's so many bad things. But I just want to know what other people are going through. Having been through crazy, terrible shit, and then now having the ability to live, like, my best life. It's all sides of the coin, right? So I get to, like... Because I think people who are privileged their whole life and one-dimensional in that way miss out too. Like, you don't know what... Most people aren't living like that. Most people struggle. And it's good to know how that feels, because then you can relate to people.
Yeah, it does make it easier. I am like reading a lot of books right now, and then everybody has their struggle in it, and I feel like that's been helpful to me, because I think sometimes, and then I was listening to some other motivational podcast, but in the podcast, the guy was like, sometimes we're like, why me? And it's like, and he's like, no offense, but why not you? Like, who would you put this on? And I was thinking about being heartbroken or like even raped. Like, I was like, oh, if I go through this, maybe someone else doesn't have to. Yeah. It was a weird thought I had. I remember thinking that.
I thought that totally. I was like, if I have to be the tranny living in a Christian conservative house, I can take it. It was like, other people would kill themselves because they're pussies. But I can do it. But even if they didn't, like, I wouldn't... It's also like, you wouldn't wish it on anyone.
I wouldn't. I don't... I think, too...
Well, maybe a few people.
No. I think about... I think it's in Buddhism. No. It was some philosopher was saying, if you believe that everything in your life that happens to you believe that, like, God or the universe has sent it to you because you can handle it and you can overcome it, and there's a lesson. Mm-hmm. Like, if you believe that, you're gonna have more courage. I think, yeah.
I think that's sweet. I don't know if I'm that optimistic. I think bad things happen and there's no coming back from them sometimes, and that's just how it is. Like,
I don't think that's true.
You get dealt a bad hand.
I think if you believe that, that's something I want to believe, and I think I've been maybe forcing myself to believe.
It's good. I think for you, it is a luxury to be able to do better, you know?
Why?
Like, it's a luxury for us to learn from trauma, to try to grow, to be able to grow, to think outside our box, to think of bigger and better for ourselves. That's a luxury, because a lot of people who have trauma don't come back from it. They sink into their negative habits and they die, even they kill themselves or they get in accidents. It's like very dark.
Yeah, but I think then that's the reason why we should be
optimistic,
helping someone else.
Okay. Yeah.
I think when I'm like, I've thought about that, where I was like, why didn't I die when I was starving myself? Why didn't I die when I got raped? Why didn't I die when all this stuff happened? And I think it's like, you have this voice, literally, too. It's like people say my voice is strong for my size and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's not, you know, I'm kind of loud.
It packs a punch.
It is. So I think, like, when I think of my long-term goals, I'm like, I don't care about the fame and the fortune. It's like, yeah, that would be great. But what I think my purpose is to help someone else.
That's lovely. I want to get there. I don't know if I'm quite there, because I don't know if I'm as, like, I think you have to think you're like with it enough to be able to help someone.
I think you are. But think about why, like, you haven't died yet. Do you know what I mean? That's what I think about. I'm like, why am I still here? And then whenever I do certain things, the universe tells me. Everyone's just going to be like, this bitch is crazy. I know, because I do things and I listen to my gut is like my road map or my compass.
Yeah.
So I do a thing, and then the universe has intervened quite a bit, where it's like, nope. Like I tell Jay, I have dreams sometimes that are like really intense. And whether you believe in the universe or not, like, I also watched a documentary about the brain and how dreams. So our brain is very powerful, but I don't know how much scientists know about it. It's like a very small percentage, and then the rest is sort of like confusing to them. Yeah. So like when people have dreams about the future, or like about their partner cheating, and it happens to be true, it's like, it's not just a crazy phenomenon or the universe. It's also like our brain is always picking up on data sometimes we're subconsciously aware of. Mm-hmm. I think it's the universe. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think sometimes the universe intervenes with me. So that's why I kind of believe like I'm supposed to do something bigger with like my comedy.
Yeah. Not just tell like dick jokes, but
right.
To say something that is actually like maybe changing someone's mind, or like showing a perspective people didn't think about and stuff like that.
And it feels daunting, and I'm not sure of like how to do all of that, and I've tried and it's not hit right, but I'm just like following my gut and learning, because I also know comedy is a skill that takes a long time to get really good at. She's so freaking cute.
She's so cute. She's laying down with us.
My baby.
She like splays herself out and she's like chilling. I love it. Wait. Okay, so what was I gonna say? I forgot. I think about us being lucky, or like why haven't we died? I do think like, because I had a conversation with my friend who kind of peaked in high school.
Oh my god.
Very different life than me. This guy's like family is the whitest family I've ever seen. They say things like "alrighty Aphrodite." It's like so white. But they're very like, we would always talk about how our families were different. Like his family would always like, if they were mad at each other, they would just, separate and be quiet and then like come back together and smooth it over. Whereas my family, if they had a problem, you knew and you fought it out, and then eventually like people got tired and it moved over.
That's how mine was.
Yeah, very Latino. And then like we were just very different. And he also, like, white, straight, handsome, smart guy. Like, these are all, like, you're blessed, right? You have everything. You have a family that feeds you, like, organic food. You have everything. And so, like, of course, in high school, like, he doesn't have a lot of acne. Like, he's tall. He has like, a girlfriend. Like, everything you could, like, get in high school, like, he was fine. And a cool personality and smart. I was, like, in love with this guy. I was on such the other spectrum. I was, like, getting more sicker and sicker and more stressed out, and I was lying to everybody, and I was just, like, spiraling and going through a lot of bad stuff because I was transgender. It was, like, a big problem. Now we're on the phone, like, a few months ago, and we're talking. We always get really deep, and he's talking about how he felt suicidal at one point. And you, of course, like, I have to tell myself, like, everyone feels, sad. It doesn't matter what they have or whatever. Like, it's normal for people to feel sad, and maybe he reached a low point, but it is hard for me to take seriously because he's just, like, so blessed. And so he's telling me, like, yeah, the lowest point in my life, I was, like, driving home from the gym. Like, I went to the rock wall and I just, like, struggled to, like, climb.
That was the lowest.
That was it. And I thought that was, like, so hilariously, like, pathetic that was his lowest point. I mean, obviously, like,
that's how I felt though with, like, my ex, to be honest. I was like, I don't want to take away from anyone's depression, but it's hard.
Let me stomp all over it too. Because also, like, I'm like, then he's like, I know it sounds dumb and it sounds annoying and, like, whatever, like, yeah, I get it, but, like, that was my lowest point, and I really, like, it scared me. It scared him because he'd never felt that low before, and he was like, and I said, okay, well, my story with feeling suicidal is I'd been sick for years. I was in my early 20s. I can't eat without feeling like I swallowed a needle. It's stabbing me in the stomach. Every time I eat, I starve myself. I'm in bed. I can't move. I'm thinking, what if this is as good as it gets? People my age are strong. They're full of energy. They're going out. They're following their dreams. They're trying new things. They're staying up late. They're getting drunk. They're doing everything because they have all of the energy and the health and the, like, ability to do anything they want. And I'm sitting here in bed. I can't do anything. I can't think straight. I'm just suffering. What if this is as good as it gets? It's the prime of my life. What if it just gets worse from here? What if I suffer my whole life and it never gets better and then I die? Do I really want to go through that? And I really seriously considered it for, like, a few minutes, where I was like, why am I allowing myself to live? Like, what's the point? What is the reason for me to keep going? And then I realized there is no reason. It's just habit. I've lived this long, and it's habit at this point. So I'll just keep living. Even if it's hard, I'll just keep doing it because I'm used to it. And so I did. There's no, like, special mission. It's just I realized that living was what I wanted to do, and I did it. And Nathan, whoever it was, was like, I don't know if I could ever come to that decision in your place, because he got, like, a freak low point and then got scared after, and he, like, it was over. But he said if I really had to sit in it and think about it, I don't know if I would have decided to keep going. And I don't know where I was going with that, but it's just, like, a different life.
I mean, I guess it makes me wonder, though. Like, I talked to you about this probably a year ago when I was trying to date. I was like, this person's so different from me.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder, I'm like, am I going to have to date someone that's been raped? And I'm just kidding. Do I have to date someone? But like something like that. I'm like, I feel like I don't know if I can connect. I think that was why for years, even as friends, I would surround myself with like drug addicts. Because I was like, I feel like I need people to understand that impulsive thing in there. And I was like, now I have friends that, I mean, you're not an addict, but I do have sober friends. But you've also been through like really dark things. And I feel like you really understand what I'm saying. But it's hard for me to relate to people or be around someone that doesn't get that. And I hate feeling like, I don't know, I do get frustrated when people are like, this was so hard for me. And I'm like, it really pisses me off. Like, I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, I had a friend in college who, great person, like, we loved each other.
Is this the teaching, with the test or whatever? Okay.
So I showed this person, like, a movie that's, like, very graphic, very, like, triggering about sexual abuse called Mysterious Skin.
You guys should watch it.
If you've been molested or whatever, like, it's a great...
Molested or whatever?
It's a great watch.
I mean, I watched it, and it was very helpful to me, and I wasn't molested. I was raped. So if you... Because...
It's cathartic.
It was telling Jay, it helped me because I was like, there's no support groups for rape. Or, I mean, it's really hard to get into. So watching it, I was like, oh, okay. Some of my behavior I didn't understand, and it, like, plays out in this movie. And it's like, oh. So it helps.
It helps. Like, just seeing what you feel reflected back at you, someone else gets it, and you can learn from it a little bit.
You don't have to feel so alone.
You're like, oh my God, finally. Like... And so I loved this movie. I told my friend about it at the time, and she was like, I'll watch it too. So we both watched it. She, at the end of it, didn't know how to talk to me. She was like, I just can't imagine going through something like that. I grew up, you know, rich, in a Bible group, smart, you know. I got everything I kind of wanted. I didn't have to deal with this kind of stuff at all, and I honestly don't know how to relate to you. And I was like...
That's so isolating.
Yeah. I think for most of my life, being molested isn't that bad. It's actually kind of fun, but no.
You're like,
But I think the worst part is that... Yeah, you're a kid, and other kids don't know what it feels like, and you feel like so... I've always felt like there was this, like, chasm between me and other people, and I was just always like trying to get to the other side, but it would just like yawn even wider with every word people said. That kind of like proved they had no clue what I was going through.
I felt that way for a long time about everything because I wouldn't talk to people. So like with the drinking, I got lost and I was having withdrawals and I didn't know what was going on. And then the eating disorder for sure, because nobody else was starving themselves, to my knowledge. And you could see it, like, in my face and my body. And I had told Jay, I think I talked about it on another podcast, but when I was starving myself, there were these, like, online websites where other anorexic people would be on. And it was helpful to me, and it was, like, soothing. And then they would get shut down because they're like, oh, we don't want people like supporting this behavior or encouraging it. And it made me infuriated because I was like, well, who the hell am I supposed to talk to?
Yeah.
I was like, you just took away my only friends that understood me. And that made me worse. There was a part of me that fiercely wanted the sites to stay up. But they shut it down because they're like, this is dangerous. It's promoting... you know, this sort of behavior. But I was like, well, then what the fuck are we supposed to do? Because it doesn't... And it's hard, too, like, talking to someone that hasn't been through what you're going through. I mean, therapists, it's like they're very... like, I don't know my therapist at all. Mm-hmm. But it's nice, like, I've been to AA meetings, and it is nice to be like... oh, they all get it. Like, there's this community, and you can talk, and you can hear what other people have gone through, and you, like, connect.
As opposed to, like, the worst thing about my life was that I failed at a rock wall. And this other friend who I, like, talked about being molested with and watched this movie, she later missed a final exam and got a, like, bad grade in a class. And she said, this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. And I got so angry. Not because it was, like... I was kind of offended that she knew I was, like, molested and she had the audacity to say that. I was a little, but that wasn't the main thing. It was that she was being honest. Like, it was true. That someone could have such a nice life, that a bad grade was the worst thing that ever happened to you. Like, I got so angry.
That reminds me, one of my ex-boyfriends, when Kobe died, this guy never cried, and then this basketball player dies. And I understand you have your team, you have your people you like. He's like bawling. I was like, are you even a man? No, I'm just kidding. But I was like, it was hard for me to pretend, because I was pretending that I cared, because it was like, he was like, this is it was like the same thing. It was one of the worst things that had happened to him. And I was like, this is pathetic. Also, I don't know. I was like angry because this is kind of veering off. But I don't know. I just don't really respect a lot of these players. Like, I get his work ethic, and I've heard him, and then Kobe pops up in a lot of the motivational videos I listen to, and it's like he does have wise things to say, but then he also had his ego. And I feel like I'm going to get shit for this, but it pissed me off because there was like this alleged rape between him. I don't think it was a rape either. I like read about it, but regardless of that, he still cheated on his wife. And that's what like people don't care about. And that, like, I'm just like, how do you not? I feel like no one seems to care about cheating. And that, like, bothers me. Like, if I find out someone's cheating or has cheated or whatever, I'm like, I have no respect for you. I do lose respect. Because I'm like, what are you doing? It's not that hard to not cheat. Like, just break up. Yeah. You know, and it's not. And I'm tired of people being like, oh, it was my self-esteem was low or whatever. And it's like, no, you're, like, ruining someone else's life. You had an agreement. If you're not going to uphold that, like, what else are you going to do? You know?
Yeah.
It's like you don't respect yourself enough you don't have to be monogamous either. People are doing open relationships and whatever. Like, that's fine. I have no issue with that.
I do, but...
Not for me. It's not for me, but I'm just like, I don't respect... I have friends that are, like, in open relationships that I'm, like, tight with.
Really?
Well, I don't know if he is anymore, but...
Oh.
He was, and I was like, oh, I still love you.
I'm always like, you horny fuck.
Well, it didn't even work, because he was trying to, like, really date all of these girls, and I was like, yeah. Like
Holly?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That takes a lot of energy. It takes me...
More power to you then, but if you're being honest, like, fine, but don't fucking tell somebody...
Don't lie.
Don't lie. Don't, like, make excuses.
Don't
and then
be
sometimes
scared.
people are like, oh, it felt good. And it's like, yeah, so does shooting up heroin.
Yeah.
Like, because people are like, oh, it's exciting to... And it's like, yeah, but it's different. Like, I get really angry when people start fucking with other people's lives. You want to fuck up your own life, fine. Like, I'm not happy about that either. Like, it makes me sad when I see people doing drugs. But fuck you if you're going to, like, bring... Someone down else, with you. Yeah. I have no respect for it. I've clearly been cheated on. I'm like, damn, this is it's horrible. It broke my trust in later relationships. It, like, affected my last one. And there was, like, that wasn't happening at all. But it's, like, my trust is, like, broken. It took me a long time. Even... I don't know why, but it, like, broke my trust in my friends. I was just questioning everything. Because I had this person who was so close to me that claimed he loved me, and then he did that, and I was like, it just like threw my world. Like, I was like, what the fuck? How could you do that?
Yeah, it makes it hard to trust people. I have cheated on someone once. But I've only been in relationships, quote unquote, for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
I just canceled the pot. I'm like, we're done. No,
well, this person, I think I was getting insecure because I felt like I couldn't satisfy them how they wanted. And then I also didn't want to be in the relationship anymore. So in a way, me like cheating was a way to force myself to confront them finally, because once I did it, I felt guilty, but
Did you tell them?
I told them. I was like, I can't keep this secret. I have to tell them now. So I told them what happened, and he was like, well, we can still like get through this. And I was like, no, like, I'm not doing that to you. Like, it's sweet when someone's like, we can still like work this out.
I understand it. I remembered getting cheated on, and the first thought you have was like, this is my fault. You're like, maybe if I was, I think, and I've told Jay, I've had issues with feeling lovable. So I was like, if I was more lovable, this was, and like, that's not the case at all. And I think I learn as I get older, I'm like, the way people act is how they feel about themselves.
Yeah.
So it was like the guy that I was with was so deeply insecure. I was gone I had left for a couple of weeks. It like happened then. Mm-hmm. And I felt like he just needed constant like validation. And like couldn't confront a lot of things. And so like looking back, I understand exactly what happened, but I'm like, that doesn't make that okay. And it's very disrespectful. And then I went through so much pain because of it. Mm-hmm. Like that Yebba song. My mind. If you've been cheated on, listen.
Oh my God, anyone.
Gonna cry. Oh. Anyone. It's it's like an amazing song.
I love music. I'm a singer. That's Yebba singing My Mind at So Far Sounds. It's a live performance. It's one of the best live performances, I think, ever. It's
I would agree.
Impeccable, like a flawless, like vocally technique-wise performance, but also like the emotion. Like that's art. That really like
I don't know about the technique, but I was like
reaches out and touches people.
Also, that song kept me going because that was another point in my life where I was suicidal because I was so alone. I mean, this guy that I was with was very abusive too, so it was like I wasn't really talking to my family because of him. I had no friends. He was like very much trying to isolate me. And then that happened and I felt so alone. And then that song I would listen to a lot because I was like, okay, someone else has been through this again. And she like nailed how it felt. Like if you, I don't know. It really like.
It's so cool too what she does with her voice. It sounds like she's
crying.
Sobbing. Yeah, and she's actually just singing. It's cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's a great song. Listen to it.
You're gonna cry. If you don't cry, you're a sociopath.
Yebba, My Mind. So good.
It's so good.
What time is it?
It's 11:06.
How long?
We've been going for like an hour.
Okay. Well, I feel like this one was like very like intense.
This one was intense. It felt more intense than the other ones.
Yeah, like I got kind of mad. I was
so
like
did I.
Talking about deep dark stuff.
Talking about deep, I got emotional. That's good though. That's why I'm like I like this.
Hashtag us too.
Hashtag us too. Jay, where can they find you?
Oh, at _JAYELLIOT J Elliott on Instagram. Check out my stories because I'm not that active on it, but I'll post on my story.
You post funny stuff on your stories.
I like doing that.
Yeah. I post everything. My Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook are all the same at SB Rivadeneira, ESPIRIVADENEIRA. For a second, I was like, do I remember how to spell my name? I was like, what happens? But that's everything. Thank you so much. This is, I think, episode 6. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it.
With video, maybe.
Yeah. I'm struggling. If anyone has any tips. If you guys have any questions, by the way, we're trying to do questions. You can DM us.
Please.
Yeah, please.
Please DM me if you've seen this.
Bye. We love you.